Hey you guys, I am back as promised. I wanted to come on here to answer any questions that you guys may have had about my yarn twist. I actually have several questions that I would like to answer. So if you guys are interested, stay tuned. So I did use 3 strands per twist, but around my edges, I only used 2. I used the invisible root method to install my twist. And basically that method allows your twist to blend in naturally with your natural hair. Invisible root method, you can't tell where my twists begin. It kind of blends in. Our twist blends in very nice with your hair. They're very flexible. They're not stiff. As you guys can see, I can bend them. They're not stiff at all. They're very light. They are not heavy. I did install some yarn twists a few months back in spring, where I used 12 strands instead of 3. They were a little heavier than these, but I like these at this length and at this size because they're a little bit more flexible. It's easier for me to pin them up, especially if I'm working out. They're just easier for me to move around. Just as you guys can see, they just are very flexible. And just purchased my yarn from Hobby Lobby. I paid about $3. I used about 1.5 rolls of yarn. I did not need a lot. Before you install your yarn twist, you want to already have your yarn prepped. So I do have a video that I posted a few months back where I showed you guys how to prep your yarn. I didn't need that much yarn in this case because I did cut it. I'll leave the link below to show you guys how you can prep your yarn in advance. You do not want to prep your yarn and braid the same day. You can do whatever you want. I'm not saying don't do it, but it just makes it much easier to style your hair if your yarn's already prepped. And I usually have my yarn prep days, this time even weeks before I actually do the install. I had a subscriber wanted to know if the yarn actually snags on your clothing. It all depends on what you wear. If you are wearing knitted material, since this is yarn, it will kind of snag on your clothing. I wear my jacket, this red knitted jacket, the yarn twist will snag on it. So, but it's for some material like this or like a solid shirt, it will not snag. But if you do wear material such as this, your hair will snag, okay? It will snag. So every other day I oil my scalp with some castor oil and lightly mist with the ORS olive oil sheen spray. I do not wet my hair while in these yarn twists. I'll explain later why. And the best yarn for this style is the Red Heart brand. It's 100% acrylic and the safest brand for natural hair. In my yarn twist in 5 weeks max. There is something about having a dirty, itchy scalp I cannot deal with. I do have issues wearing protective styles for a very long period of time. I just won't do it. I don't care how long it takes me to install. I don't care how much it costs for someone to put them in. In this case, I did this on my own. I give all protective styles at least 5 weeks. I have to get in there and shampoo my scalp. I just can't. I can't live without going in there to shampoo. I did also post a video a few months back about how to cleanse your scalp while wearing a protective style. I'll make sure I'll leave that link down at the bottom as well. And basically, it's just a couple steps that you'll need to do in order to cleanse your scalp. I do this routine about every 2.5 weeks. These yarn twists have been in for about a week now. So sometime next week, I will go in and cleanse my scalp. Basically, what I do is use my ACV vinegar rinse on a cotton ball. You go in and take the cotton ball to cleanse your scalp with it. And then you take a fresh cotton ball and use some witch hazel, go behind it to, go through each part to cleanse that. And then last, you'll take some oil. But I'll leave that link down below so you guys can actually see me in action cleaning my scalp. wet my yarn twist at all. This is yarn, so if it becomes wet, it will get really, really heavy, and it probably will have a stench you can't get rid of. So I do not wet my yarn twist while they're in. I only cleanse my scalp by using the ACV rinse and some witch hazel, but it's not heavy enough where it actually drenches my hair. It's only cleansing my scalp. The yarn itself, I do not wet it, and I would not recommend for you guys to wet your yarn. So in my previous video before this, I went into detail about how I lost my edges wearing some crochet braids, and how in my next protective style, I was going to be very cautious and very aware and mindful of my edges. Just really quick, I want to show you guys how I take care of my edges while they're in this protect. So as you guys know, I am no longer using bobby pins. I believe, again, that has contributed to a lot of my breakage. I am using hairpins. One, the clamps are a lot wider, and they are less irritating on the scalp. So let me just pull my hair back to show you guys my edges. I'm gonna bush those on out, but basically I did not touch my edges at all. While braiding, I kind of left those out. I got one comment that somebody get negative comments when they leave their edges out in a protective style. I'm like, what for? I mean, you want to keep your edges, right? So I feel like as long as your hair, your other hair, or the extensions are covering your edges, then like let your edges breathe. It's fine. So basically what I'm doing, I'm just taking a little castor oil just to massage it down on my edges. Next, I take my fertilizing temple balm and just place that on top of the castor oil. Usually I only wear the fertilizing temple balm alone, but in this case, since I am wearing yarn in my hair, I'm just adding a little bit of a thicker oil on top of my edges just to make sure they're not dried out. So anyways, I hope I've answered all your questions. If you have any additional questions, please leave them down below. I did do a Q&A video a few months back when I had installed my thicker yarn twist braids. I'll make sure I'll link that in this video as well. So if I didn't hit any or all of your questions, you can please refer to that link as well. Just really quick, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. No, I do not wash my hair while they're in the yarn twist. I will reinstall these yarn twists after 5 weeks. I will not leave them in longer than that max. I just have an issue where I need to get in and wash my scalp. I do not recommend to wet the yarn twist because they will be a lot heavier. They may even have a stench. Your scalp, I do recommend using the ACV rinse with some witch hazel and oil, and I'll leave that link down below really quick so you guys can view how I did that. And I use the invisible root method. I got the yarn from Hobby Lobby. I paid about $3 for it. I'm just trying to think of all the questions you guys may ask. Do they snag on clothes? No, it all depends on what type of clothes you wear. I showed you guys the actual jacket, the yarn jacket that I kind of wear. That material, your clothes will snag. Every 2 weeks when I do cleanse my scalp and stuff with the ACV rinse, I also palm roll. I do relight my ends and palm roll. I hope I answered all y'all questions. Again, if I did not, please leave any additional questions down below, and I'll talk to you guys later.